The Hayes mansion in the suburbs of Boston was quiet that afternoon. It was the kind of estate people only dreamed of. Tall iron gates, manicured lawns, and a colonial-style mansion that reflected both wealth and heritage. Inside, 35-year-old Richard Hayes, a self-made millionaire, was supposed to still be at his downtown office, working on a deal that could add millions more to his fortune. But that day, something tugged at him to leave early. "Take the scenic route home, surprise your mother," he told his driver. His elderly mother, Margaret Hayes, lived with him ever since his father passed away. She was his anchor, the one who raised him with humility, even when money was scarce. To Richard, her comfort meant more than anything. As the black Mercedes rolled silently through the gates and up the long driveway, Richard smiled faintly. He imagined greeting his mother with flowers, maybe sharing tea in the garden before dinner. He had no idea that in just a few moments his entire engagement and his trust would shatter. When he stepped inside, the house was strangely still. He could hear faint voices from the sitting room, but not the warmth of conversation. Instead, it sounded sharp, cruel. Curious, Richard walked closer, then froze at the doorway. There, standing with her heels clicking on the polished floor, was his fiancée, Vanessa. She was glamorous, draped in designer clothes, her diamond rings sparkling under the chandelier, and at her feet, cowering near the armchair, was his mother. Richard's heart dropped as he saw it, Vanessa kicking his frail mother's leg with deliberate cruelty. "You old woman!" Vanessa spat, her face twisted. "I'm tired of your nagging. Once Richard and I are married, this house will be mine, and you'll be sent off to a nursing home where you belong." Margaret flinched but didn't reply. Her hands trembled as she tried to steady herself on the armrest. Richard's blood boiled. He had always suspected Vanessa cared more about his money than him, but he never imagined she was capable of this. For a moment, rage blinded him, but instead of bursting out, he took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Vanessa!" His voice was low, controlled. Vanessa spun around, shock flashing in her eyes. She hadn't heard him come in. "Richard, you're home. Early." She forced a smile, trying to hide her panic. Richard's eyes, however, were fixed on his mother, who looked shaken but relieved at the sight of her son. He walked to her first, gently kneeling to check her leg. "Mom, are you all right?" he asked softly. Margaret nodded, her voice breaking. "I'm fine, Richie. You don't have to explain," he assured her, standing tall again. His gaze turned to Vanessa, hard and unyielding. "Pack your things," he said flatly. Vanessa blinked. "What? Richard, wait, you don't understand. She's lying. She always tries to turn you against me." Richard's jaw tightened. "I saw everything." His voice cut through the air like ice. "The woman who gave me life, who sacrificed everything so I could be here today. You thought you could abuse her behind my back, that you could treat her as disposable?" Vanessa's face flushed with desperation. "I love you, Richard. Don't throw us away over her." "Her?" Richard's voice rose now, filled with fury. "That her is my mother, and without her, there would be no me, no fortune, no Hayes legacy. You think money is what ties us together? You're wrong. Money comes and goes. But respect, loyalty, family, that's forever." His words echoed in the room, and for the first time, Vanessa seemed small, powerless. She tried to step closer, her tone softening. "Baby, please, don't do this. Think of everything we planned, our wedding, our future." Richard shook his head. "There is no future with someone who disrespects my past. Security will escort you out. Consider the engagement over." Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes, but they weren't of remorse. They were of defeat. She had lost her golden ticket. Without another word, she stormed upstairs, slamming the door as she gathered her belongings. Richard turned back to his mother, gently helping her into the armchair. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have seen through her sooner." Margaret placed her wrinkled hand over his. "You don't need to apologize, Richie. You needed to learn her true heart before it was too late." Richard nodded, realizing just how close he had come to marrying someone who valued wealth over humanity. He made a silent vow. Never again would he let greed blind him to a person's true character. That night, after Vanessa was gone and the house was quiet again, Richard sat with his mother in the garden, sipping tea just as he had imagined. But now, the moment felt even more profound. "Money may build houses, Mom," he said softly, looking at her with gratitude, "but only love and respect make them homes. And as long as you're here, this will always be my home." Margaret smiled, her eyes glistening. "That's all I ever wanted you to remember." And as the stars blinked above the Hayes estate, Richard knew one thing for certain. True wealth was not in millions, but in honoring those who stood by you when you had nothing.